Hello everyone, we're back for the Brentford preview. And before we get into anything, we've had the big news that Matt Judge is going to leave Manchester United. Ed Woodward's that wingman, one of the other prats that was in charge of this 1.2 billion that's been spent the wrong way. And it is great news as a Manchester United fan that we are now Woodward and Judgeless. And the rebuild really does seem to be happening. Things seem to be changing at Man United for the better at last. We had those that restructure, I think it was either earlier this season or the back end of last season, where they were putting the same bodies into new jobs. But it seems like we've come to the end of this season under Rangnick, with Ten Hag coming in, that restructure was to set the precedent for us going forward. And to be fair, you cannot complain with the way Arnold has dealt with this so far. I mean, the future is something that is yet to be seen. But he has gone in there and so far he's done what he said in regards to putting football people in charge of football matters. And Woodward is gone. Judge is gone. We've got Rangnick going in as a consultant. We've got Ten Hag. He's bringing his own coaching staff, looking at Mitchell. I mean, the future is looking bright at Man United at this moment. Once this season is over, the next 3 or 4 games, we should have an exciting summer ahead. And we can only hope that next year we see some progression, which I don't think things can get any worse than they are now. So even a bad season next year is going to look a lot better than the season we've had so far. Rangnick has obviously taken the Austrian job as well, contract till 2024. Gary Neville's been spouting his mouth off again about he don't think he should stay at Man United. He thinks how can he focus on Man United when he's doing the Austrian job. Me personally, I think a lot of the pundits, especially the Man United pundits on TV, as much as I love them, Neville, Scholes and whatnot, they've not been kind to Rangnick. I know I started this channel after the Solskjaer reign, but if you was to ask me about Solskjaer, I think it was a travesty. It was horrendous. He should have never been given the contract in the first place. You could go ask all my mates what I think the last 18 months under Solskjaer has been a one-hit wonder team, a team of moments, no structure, too nice, everyone can do what they want. I don't think there'll be some people who think Ralph Rangnick has done a worse job than Solskjaer, but if you think that Ralph Rangnick has done a worse job in charge of Man United than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm afraid you've either never played football or you haven't been watching it for very long or you don't understand what goes on off the pitch, because Ralph has come out and he has uncovered all of the failings of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over the last 3 years. The mates rates, the poor recruitment, the playing the same team, the letting the leaks out the club, letting player power be a thing, letting the English clique get away with absolute murder at the club. And Rangnick has been left with no option but to carry on from where he left off. As when he came in, he tried to change the team, as I've said before, and they wouldn't do it. They haven't got the work ethic. They haven't got the talent. And just yesterday, I think in the press conference, he was asked what's going to happen in the summer with recruitment. And he says that people like Declan Rice and whatnot are probably out of reach because we ain't got the Champions League, same as Tchouaméni. But they have to start recruiting now. And we could need up to 10 new players, which says it all. He's saying that we need 10 new players. If anyone's thick enough to not know, a football team's made of 11. So he's basically saying we need a whole new team. So that's all I'm going to say on that. With Rangnick, well, as Chris quickly say, he's only in a consultancy role, and there was rumours he was only going to be doing minimal hours consultancy for United anyway. So there's people saying, oh, he can't be at Old Trafford over the weekend, blah, blah, blah. He knows what's going on within the club. I don't think he needs to be there. And if he's only going to be on that 10-hour contract, whatever was spouted out anyway, he's not going to be at Old Trafford anyway. Consulting, is he? You can do it over the internet, Zoom, Teams, whatever. You can work remotely these days. Some people seem to forget. And anyway, we'll go on to the Brentford game. I think this will be a tough game. I've said it for the last few weeks that I think Brentford on Monday night, they're not going to be easy. They started off real well in the league. Tony and that Mwembe is a handful up front. Their midfield is going to be better than ours because every midfield is. They've now got Eriksen in there. I can tell you right now, this is Saturday morning, that Christian Eriksen will run the midfield on Monday night. And if he doesn't, then I'll give Scott McTominay some praise. What I would do if you want to listen to about our midfield is go back to my previous video where I have an in-depth chat about Scott McTominay and his passing stats. They are woeful. I'm not going to get into it now, but go and watch it because it's pathetic to be a Manchester United midfielder and make that little amount of passes. Let's just have a quick roundup. Actually, no, we'll go on to the old tactics board just while we're on the Brentford game. I'm not going to dwell on games for too long anymore because we know what they are. It's going to be a snooze fest probably, and I think Brentford will give us an extremely hard game. Is it at home? Yeah, we're at home. We're not particularly good at home. I mean, we might scrape a win. I'll be positive for once. I'll say we'll win 2-1. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's no surprises. It could go any way with United. Ronaldo will either get us out the turnip hole again and De Gea, and we'll scrape a win, or it'll be a bore fest or Brighton will win. But this is the team that I've gone for anyway. I've gone for Telles. I thought Telles actually played really well against Chelsea. He looked a bit ropey against Arsenal, but I think he was solid against Chelsea. So I think all the back four were decent against Chelsea. It was relentless against them in the first half. And like I've said before, they're always going to make a mistake here and there when you're 90 minutes under pressure. So I'd stick with Varane and Lindelof. I don't care what's happened to Maguire. Injured, dropped, mental health reasons. Obviously, you don't want him to be ill or anything like that or injured. But regardless of the fact, he cannot come back into this team. We've been saying it for a couple of months now that Lindelof and Varane, when they're both fit, is our best centre-back pairing. Last time this happened, Maguire got a free rein back into the team because Lindelof got burgled. And he had to take a couple of games off because of his wife and kid. Leave them two in for the rest of the season. I know Varane's potential to get injured, but if Varane gets injured, I'd put Bailly in. Dalot, we all know what I think about Dalot. I'm not going to dwell on it. He's way better than Wan-Bissaka. So, leave him in. I'd play Matic. I thought Matic was good against Chelsea. All this crap about Matic can't play 90 minutes, blah, 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 blah. He's been playing the last few games in a row for 70, 80, 90 minutes. Yeah, maybe he can't play 2 or 3 games a week at 90 minutes. He can play 1 game a week at 90 minutes. So leave him in the team. I would play Fred because, like I've just touched on McTominay, he's so poor that I wouldn't even have him in this. I'd put maybe, at best, he's a bench player, but he's like number 7 sub on the bench for me, McTominay. It's just not good enough. He's a Tom Cleverley, he's a Nick Powell, he's a one of them. If we had a proper team in place that would challenge him for a title, he'd either be sat on the bench every week and barely get any minutes, or he would have left and gone to a lower league Premiership team or a Championship team like those kind of players did, because he's not better than him. I would put them, like I always say, in them Longstaff brothers territory. And they're not playing for Newcastle and one of them's down at Bradford or something. Says it all. But that's the midfield I'd go for. It's still a weak midfield, but at least Fred's a bit more mobile. He can get around the pitch a bit. He can press higher. We're going into the AMF role now where Bruno's run his course. We're playing Brentford. If we can keep hold of the ball against Brentford and not let them get turnovers all the time and transitions, we should be able to beat him. With Bruno Fernandes in the team, he will just give the ball away over and over and over again. Mata, he might not have the legs, but he can play football. And for me, right at this minute, Bruno needs a kick in the backside. Just got a 250 grand contract. And he looks like he thinks he's a Harlem Globetrotter without any talent. Just booting the ball all over the place. I'd love to be able to show that clip of that one in the second half against Chelsea when it comes to him. And he tries that first time round the corner and it goes about 300 foot in the air. And Ronaldo, I think, stood under Rudiger. Like, what on earth is that? Pathetic. And Mata played really well when he come on. You can always just play Mata for 60 minutes and bring Bruno on later on. I'll go, Ronaldo's got to play up front. I don't care if Cavani's fit or not. You can go back and watch a video from a good few months ago now on my channel where I think that Cavani is one of the biggest flops we've ever had at Man United. He don't want to be here. He's paid loads of money. He's always fine to go to Uruguay. He can never play for United. Even if he was fit today, I'd leave him out the squad and put youth on the bench. I think he has been a joke. I don't care whether you think what you think of him, whether you think he's good, whether you like him, just because he runs about a bit when he comes on the pitch. McTominay runs about a bit when he comes on the pitch. Does anyone like him? Football-wise, no. Cavani, just get out of this club now. I said it a couple of months ago. I'd have paid his contract off and got rid of him. He hadn't played anyway and we're paying him 200 grand a week. Get rid of him. And as for the wings, I mean, I would look at playing these three in any orientation on the wings. Elanga, Hannibal, Garnacho. I think Sancho's still injured, or well, he's got tonsillitis. Apparently, he could be out for the whole season. Rashford's performances of late, and I went on about him again in the last video, so I'm not going to dwell on it, have been so poor. The Chelsea game epitomised Marcus Rashford. He does not do this work backwards. He stands around up here waiting for someone to give him the ball. Most of the second half, Ronaldo's doing this. 37, 38 years old. Doing the work that Marcus Rashford should be. Rashford come on, swap sides with Elanga against Chelsea. Lo and behold, Alonso scores, the fullback. And if you don't understand football like some people don't, Reece James is not Tellez's man. Alonso is not Dalot's man. They are the wingers' man. Should be tracking them up and down, up and down. And Rashford is one of the laziest players in the Premier League, I can guarantee it. He got a start out on the left against Chelsea where he says his favourite position is 90 minutes. Well, he didn't get 90 minutes because he got hooked and he should have been hooked a lot earlier. Pathetic. So he's not playing. He's another one with Bruno that I know we're clinging on to these top four hopes in Europa League. But the way West Ham are going at the minute, they're obviously super focused on that Europa League. I think did they lose 2-1 to Frankfurt? They're not going to be playing strong teams in the Premier League. They're going to be all out for that Europa League. So we should get Europa League whatever. So I would just play the youth. Where's my mouse cursor gone? It's disappeared. There it is. So, yeah, I mean, you can maybe play Elanga off the left because he's a bit more experienced, and I'd try one of these two off this right-hand side. You can always swap them over. Even put Hannibal in there and Mata out here for a bit. But that's what I'll be doing today. It's Brentford. They are a threat, but let's not forget they are a just promoted team from the Championship. We should be beating them, regardless. I've said my score prediction, and I think Man United will probably win 2-1. We need the points. I'll reiterate it again, 64 points is the lowest Man United have ever scored in the Premier League, and it's going to be a struggle for them to get that. So let's go back to the old face cam, shall we? Not that you want to see it, but we will. Where's my mouse cursor again? There it is. Yes, so let's have a look at a bit of news from this morning then, as we're on the early doors. On the BBC website here saying Ralph Rangnick has said he doesn't think that most Man United fans are bothered that Judge has left. Well, he's absolutely right there. Hosting Brentford the first time in any competition since a 2-1 League Cup win in 1975. They've not beaten United for the last 6 meetings. I mean, but considering that's ancient history. This is an interesting stat. Brentford are unbeaten in their last 12 league games played on a Monday night. So they obviously must like playing on a Monday. I've mentioned Sancho looks like he's going to be out for the season. Thomas Frank has come out and said that he believes that they can get something at Old Trafford. Yeah, so it says Cavani is returning to training on Friday but probably won't be fit. And he talked about his future signings and that we need to be buying players now that have the right mindset, the right talent, and the right work ethic. Not just buying players for players' sake, superstars. And I think that's got to be the way Man United go, and I think it will be under Rangnick, Ten Hag, and everyone that's coming in. I don't think we'll see superstars coming through the door this summer. I mean, look what City have done buying Grealish. Their past however many transfer windows have all been 50, 60 million pound players no one's really ever heard of. They've spent 100 million on Grealish and he's not starting. He's not been great for City whatsoever, and I know it often takes a year or two to get into Pep's way of playing, but 100 million quid even for City is a lot of money. And I mean, nobody talks about it because City is still doing great, but really, he's been a bit of a flop, hasn't he, Grealish at City? So just to round up some quick news on what's on the BBC website today. So they're saying that they want to sign Dybala. Apparently Ten Hag, I don't see that happening. He's getting old now. He's going to want loads of wages. He's just something, to me, that he's not in Man United's remit anymore. La Repubblica, an Italian, the club have indicated to Napoli that they're willing to pay £84 million for Victor Osimhen. So we know that they're interested in Nunez from Benfica as well, Benfica saying 130 million quid to get him out of there. Probably not really, but it'd probably be around that, 70 or 80 mil, and it's the same for Osimhen, so it'd be interesting to do a comparison between Osimhen and Nunez. I don't know a lot about them both. I know a bit more about Nunez, but he's playing for Benfica in Portugal. He has scored in the Champions League, to be fair. I don't know a lot about Osimhen. I know he's fairly highly rated, but I'd be very wary. I mean, look at Lukaku. he went from Man United, where he was awful, to Inter, where he looked like one of the best strikers in the world, and he's come back to Chelsea for another flop for 100 million quid. He's not starting. Starting Timo Werner, who can't hit the onion bag for out. He's starting in front of Lukaku there. So it's very difficult to buy strikers that work, and especially my personal opinion would be go and buy 2 or 3 for 40 or 50 million and hope one of them's good. You're penning, if you're spending 70, 80, 90 million quid on one striker, you need him to perform. And if you get into that much money, just buy Kane, in my opinion. If you're going to be spending nearly 100 million quid, yes, they're young, they're up and coming, but they're not proven yet. If you get into 100 million quid, just buy Kane. If you can obviously get him out of Tottenham, which I think would still be a possibility for 100 million. That's my opinion on strikers anyway. If you're going to pay stupid money, go out and get someone. I know this goes against what I've just said, but Harry Kane is a class striker, Prem proven. We know he can put the ball in the net. If you're spending 80 million quid on Osman or Nunez from an outside of the Premier League, young, it could be another 80 million quid flop. I mean, what do you think about that? If there were 40 or 50 mil, I'd choose Osman or Nunez all day, but for getting on towards 100, you need someone top class for that. I mean, you might tell me wrong, you might say they're amazing, but I can't see it. Got Neves again linked, we know about that. I think Neves is a big possibility for United because we're not going to get Rice, Tchouameni. So it's probably going to be, I think Phillips has ruled himself out as well, hasn't he? So it's probably going to be Basuma, Neves, someone like that. Arsenal are interested in Marcus Rashford, yeah, right. Friggin'. As if Rashford would go to Arsenal. Pathetic. Palace want Wan-Bissaka back on loan. Well, get rid of him then. I'm absolutely well up for that. We do not need Wan-Bissaka whatsoever. And Napoli are not signing Tuanzebe, so it looks like he's going to be coming back to United. So it's another centre-back option. Someone who I don't think was given enough chances under Ollie. Gone out on loan a couple of times. To be fair, he's not really impressed that much when he's been out on loan. I think he went to Villa. He's been to Napoli. They obviously still don't want him. So I know we always raved about Tuanzebe a year or two ago when he had a couple of great performances, but the jury's still out on Tuanzebe. He's 24 now, according to this. So he's not nailed himself down a first-team spot at Napoli or Villa. So let's be real. He's probably not good enough, is he? And just one last quick thing. Matic has said he's disappointed with his time at Man United. He expected to come here and win silverware, which, I mean, of course he did. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on that. He says his time at United will stay in his heart, but it's the right time for him to leave, and it probably is. He's getting on. He's not been getting the appearances. He's had a good end to the season. I think it is the right time for him to leave, and people are getting on him. Why are we playing Matic? Why are we playing Matic? He said he wants to leave. At least he's come out and said he wants to leave, and he's still putting the effort in. There's a load of players sat on that bench at Man United that don't want to be there, or are sat there running the contracts down so they can go and take home another 100,000 quid a week. They're the ones you want to be at. The Lingards, the Pogbas. I mean, they're the people who are the problem at this club at the minute. On big money, won't sign new contracts, can't sell them. But that's getting into another conversation. I've been going on for 25 minutes already, so I'm going to leave it there. Brentford United, Monday night. Let's go. And goodbye.